All right, let's face it. We're living in a world where things are going absolutely bonkers. Things are turning, the world seems to be turning upside down in a lot of ways. People are stressed, concerned, and fearful in a lot of ways. The good news is there's a way out. Peace and love, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Hope and Healing Session. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason, and we're here every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to bring encouragement, to inspire hope, to share with you insights, and to actually offer healing that can actually help strengthen you, help empower you, and help you to be the fullest, most fully expressed version of yourself as we endeavor to enter into a sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. And we do that through a methodology referred to as Transcending the Matrix, which is a holistic based approach to healing that addresses all aspects of a person's beingness. Yes, their physical health, also mental health, spiritual health, and relationships, all aspects of a person's beingness. And so we're in a world that is very different than what many of us have ever seen before. There have been some things that have been happening recently. And I'll just say, I teach this Transcending the Matrix methodology. And during the training, at least the level 1 training, we hear some prophetic messages. We receive some prophetic messages. And there's a prophetic message that had been shared over 20 years ago. That we collectively as humanity were being put in a position because just the way that life is unfolding, that we would be put in a position where we would have to make some decisions, and those decisions would reflect the collective mindset that we have, whether we are in a more love-based collective mindset or whether we were choosing a more fear-based collective mindset. If you've been on the Sunday Hope and Healing Sessions before, you know that fear we use as an acronym for false evidence that appears real. And this collective, this conglomeration of all of this false evidence that appears real is what I refer to as the matrix of third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation that keep us at odds with one another, that keep us in a fear-based state, in fear from the standpoint of being presented with all this false evidence that appears real, but based on buying into the false evidence that appears real, believing that it is real, it keeps us locked into an emotionally fear-based state where we're off our center, where we become disempowered, where we have heightened stress hormones unfolding, flooding our system, and where we find it harder to trust life and the processes of life. And that keeps us away from our true power source, strips us of the peace that is our birthright and all sorts of things. And so right now we're living in a time where we're seeing a lot of things unfolding that are one could say unfathomable. Some of us could say that we warned others of us about what was going to happen if we did this. And now some of us could say that we're in the FAFO phase, where we've messed around and now we're finding out, right? And so we're dealing with today as a general idea, and we're definitely going to do healing on this, of maintaining spiritual alignment or getting spiritually aligned in order to maintain a sense of mental health, in order to optimize our mental health. Okay. Put another way, where we are entering into a state of moving in a direction of spiritual mastery in order to not be adversely affected by the masters of this world. Okay. All right. And so in this work of transcending the matrix, last weekend we had a training that was really focused on the physical healing. And there was physical healing that took place in that training last weekend. It was absolutely wonderful. Later on this month, we have a level 2 or intermediate training that's dealing with mental and emotional healing, neurological upgrading, and brain optimization. And this is so timely. And although for this training, one does need to have the background of the level 1 training, this whole thing about mental health is so important and so critical today, in this day and age that we find ourselves in now, because there's all of this crazy making. We're on information overload from all of these things that are in the news cycle. There's a constant bombardment of information, much of it that is really geared toward creating hostility, derision, and fear and anxiety, that will keep us locked into negativity, and actually get addicted to the adrenaline and the cortisol, those stress hormones. All right. Those hormones exist for a reason, but they're not intended to be constantly bombarding and flooding our system. Right. And then because we get addicted to it, we feed ourselves because of the stuff that's entering into what the part of the brain referred to as the reticular activating system. We end up having these things that have entered into our ear gate and entered into our eye gate, these things that we hear and see, that end up actually programming our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind becomes the determining factor of what ends up showing up in the movie of our lives, what it is that we end up out picturing in the world, and how it is that we end up experiencing life and the things that unfold in earth. So I definitely want to send peace and blessings and a lot of love to everybody who's out there today. If you're here today, it's because you feel like there's hopefully some benefit that you'll get from it. This is a time where it's so important for us to, greetings, Curly Conscious King, where it's so important for us to really be spiritually aligned and for us to develop a sense of spiritual maturity just to maintain our sanity. Okay, this is the times that we're in right now, where it's important just for the sake of maintaining our sanity that we become spiritually aligned, spiritually mature, and develop a level of spiritual mastery. Okay, because there is definitely to a certain degree, a correlation, and not a complete direct correlation, but certainly the two influence one another, between emotional intelligence and spiritual maturity. One will never become spiritually mature that lacks emotional intelligence. And when I talk about emotional intelligence, what is it that I'm essentially talking about? Emotional intelligence, there's intellectual intelligence. We typically rate that based on one's IQ or intelligence quotient. And that kind of can deal with a person's ability to, on some level, figure some things out, to be able to discern some things on that level in terms of deduction and inference and things of that nature. But then there's emotional intelligence, which they actually say in many ways is a greater factor in determining one's likelihood for success. Now, what is success? I don't want to just put success in the context of a material sense. I want to define success in terms of one's ability to, or one's fulfillment in reaching their goals, fulfilling their desires. All right. And so, in that context, emotional intelligence is important. Emotional intelligence is critically valuable in relationships. And pretty much life is about how we navigate and operate in the context of relationships, in the context of how we are relating to ourselves, our past, the things that we've experienced in life, how we relate to other people, how we relate to life experiences, right? In so many areas of our life, the significance of whatever it is that we're experiencing is influenced by the quality of our relationships, right? By our relationships or the quality of our relationships, all right? And so, on one hand, and this is why even the Transcending the Matrix training is set up this way. On one hand, one is never going, and let me say this real quickly. My goal is for us to all remember who we are, for us to all remember who it is that we are and stand in the authority of that, to be able to remember who we are as children of the Most High, as drops of water from the ocean of God, as those who carry God in our DNA, the one who has the power to create galaxies, right? That is at the source and the essence of who it is that we are. And so we don't have to be victims in life. We can be victorious in the midst of whatever life presents us with. Okay. Also, the more of us are spiritually aligned, the better life is for all of us. The more people are operating in love and peace, the better life is for everybody. The unfortunate, I could say it this way, that the unfortunate reality of how life is experienced in this world is that it's not necessarily set up that way. That there are a few people who are in power in a worldly sense, who are running and controlling the world. And most of those people, as I learned from some research I was doing, most of those people have mental health issues. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but most people who are heads of countries, who are heads and CEOs of corporations, of mega conglomerate corporations, that most of them are sociopathic, right? And that's what's going on within the mind of a person who's a mass murderer. They tend to be sociopaths. I don't want to get into all kind of things where that's concerned, but what I do want to say is that in order to no longer be affected by the craziness that is put upon us by the masters of this world, then it's important that we reach a level of spiritual mastery within ourselves. Okay, if we're going to become immune to the craziness that's going on in this world, where there's so much chaos and confusion, and much of it is even intentional, that will have us at each other's throats as part of a smokescreen to miss what it is that's going on. But the reality, the deeper reality, is that when we know and we remember who it is that we are and what it is that we come from, when we remember God's love for us and tap into greater spiritual truth, then we're only subject to the level, to the highest level that we tap into, that we choose to tap into. And so, yeah, there are certain things that we experience because there's something higher that we haven't tapped into yet. Right? But the more we tap into the greater, the higher, the more loving, the more true, the more peace we're able to have internally. Now, we may not always be able to control everything that's going on externally, but even to a certain degree, to the degree that we reach a level of spiritual maturity, we can actually influence the things that are going on in the outside world. But the key way to do that is by mastering what's going on in our internal world, right? Okay. And so, in a very real sense, a person will never become spiritually mature who is emotionally immature. And similarly, a person who does reach a level of spiritual maturity actually really empowers oneself to be able to dwell in a state of emotional, mental, and emotional stability, and a sense of mental and emotional well-being, and have internal peace. Okay. So in that sense, the two, to a degree, go hand in hand. All right. And so there's probably a whole lot that I could say about this. There's a whole lot that I could say about this. Um, but I don't want to go into too many of those details right now from a historical standpoint. And there's a lot I could go into, but I don't want to waste too much time going into that. I want to put the focus on the healing so that we can be empowered to be able to navigate the world that we are in right now. All right. So I'm going to start with a prayer. If you feel, if you're here right now, I know you know some folk who are stressed out by turning on the news. You might even know some people that have a hard time turning off the news because it's so compelling, right? And without a doubt, folk who are tuned into the news cycles are stressed out on some level, regardless of how it is that you voted or whatever the case might be, regardless of where it is you are on the planet right now, whether you're in the United States where I'm broadcasting from, or if you're somewhere else on the planet. Okay. So I'm going to start with a prayer, and then we'll go ahead with the healing. Oh, most gracious, most noble God, you who is the source of our existence, you who called the universes into existence, you who, in the midst of keeping the moon from crashing into the earth and keeping the earth revolving around the sun and rotating, spinning on its axis, you too, God, are perfecting the things that concern us. You know all of the details of our lives. And for this, we're so thankful that in the midst of all of the things that are going on the macro level, that you are also concerned with the things that are going on the micro level in terms of every single small detail of our lives. You see the areas where we're stressed. We see the areas where we're challenged and having difficulties in the challenges that we're being faced with. You see the areas where we feel fearful and where we may be feeling inclined to make decisions based out of that fear. You see the areas where we are not at ease, where we're in a state of dis-ease, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise. And God, I know you to be a healer that is capable of transmuting and transforming any situation, any condition, no matter how bleak it might seem to us. And through your Holy Spirit and the love that we share through the power of your pure love, I demonstrate you as a healer on the behalf of your children dwelling on Mother Earth, who are choosing to tap into and receive this healing for the purpose of neutralizing the root cause of feeling fearful and afraid and anxious and nervous and worried and distressed over all of the chaos that is happening in the world right now. From the point of the root cause in the entire energy field of every strand of DNA and every cell of each one of our bodies, and transmuting that into and replacing it with a spiritual alignment with you, a spiritual focus on you, and a spiritual maturity that allows us to rise above the matrix of chaos and confusion and to align ourselves with your perfect peace, a peace that passes all understanding. And I bear witness to our wholeness. I bear witness to our peace. I bear witness to our spiritual maturity and even mastery. On this date and in this time and space called now, thank you, God. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some of this healing now. All right, and so the first thing I want to do in terms of our healing is I want to address, I made mention to it before, I want to address our reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is a part of the brain that kind of processes information that comes in and feeds it to our subconscious mind based on the things that we take in through our physical senses. All right, so I want to look at addressing our reticular activating system and want to bring peace, love, and light to our reticular activating system. And also the limbic system. The limbic system deals with, on a certain level, it deals with our emotional state, and it deals with our memories, and it deals with emotional memories in some sense. Okay. So I want to address our limbic system to purify through the power of pure love, transmute those negative, fear-based memories and emotions that we might be holding on to. And through the power of God's pure love, transmute them into thoughts, feelings, and memories of those that are inspiring and empowering. Inspiring and authentically empowering. Empowering us to rise above the things that would stand between us and our peace. Okay. And a lot of times we think that our peace is based on external circumstances, and we try to manipulate things so that they don't make us feel a way that we don't want to feel, which is usually uncomfortable. We don't like feeling uncomfortable. So we attempt to manipulate external things in order to feel more comfortable, or we vent. We vent excessively to, kind of get off of us, or to try to get out what we're holding on to inside. So let's transmute that and actually transmute it with and replace it with finding solace in the presence of God dwelling on the inside of us. I want to offer a reminder to all of us that no matter what's going on in this world, no matter how crazy it might seem, that at the end of the day, you are still loved, you are still protected, and you are still covered. And knowing that actually helps you to experience being loved, feeling protected, feeling covered, feeling safe. Okay. And so I want to actually strengthen and boost all of us as far as our um, our confidence in God's protection. Purify that through the power of pure love. Increase that in our awareness times infinity. Purify that through the power of pure love. Okay, so let's address some of the things that, so this is on some level is an issue of faith. So sometimes we have faith in what it is that we can see. So I want to address that. And I actually want to strengthen us to actually adjust our spiritual lenses to be able to see more clearly, because all of the things that we're seeing, all the things that we're imagining in terms of the future, whatever it is that we're imagining for the future, that's where it is that we're placing our faith. If we're fearful about what's going to happen, we've put our faith in what makes us afraid. If we have a confidence in terms of us being protected, us being covered, us being provided for, and us being loved in a way that is profoundly effectual and beneficial for us, then it's easier for us to dwell in a state of peace. Okay. All right. So let's strengthen our, or clarify our spiritual vision to be able to see beyond this matrix of illusion. That's what the whole reason I do this work for, really, on a deeper level. When I first started doing it, I thought I was just helping people with some healing of their physical conditions, and I'm thankful that I've been able to see that in a lot of people across the globe over the last 20-something years now. But I'm realizing on a much deeper level that what this is really about is really empowering us spiritually to rise above the chaos and the confusion, and to be able to dwell in a state of peace, to really achieve a level of spiritual attunement, alignment, and spiritual mastery, such that we're no longer slaves emotionally, mentally, physically, and otherwise to what's going on in this 3D world, okay, where we're really truly free, where we're truly liberated, right? And we can walk it boldly and in confidence, knowing that no matter what policies might be made, that we're covered, that God's got us. And not only that, that no matter what ill-minded men might endeavor to do, who have a lust and a greed for power in a material sense, who think that power is what the control that you have over other people, rather than power being what you cultivate within yourself, that is independent of what might be going on externally, right? Some I'm obviously rather passionate about. All right, I want us all to be able to be free. I want us all to be able to be whole. I want us all to remember who it is that we really are, who we are and whose we are. We are the children of the Most High. We're drops of water from the ocean of God. We are divinity expressing itself in the physical world, right? And sometimes we have glimpses of moments of remembering that. And a lot of times we have situations where we're allowing ourselves to get subject to the stuff that is actually beneath us. The stuff that's actually beneath us. You've probably heard the story of the eagle and the chickens. What the eagle doesn't need to get caught up in all of the chicken crap that's going on. The eagle doesn't need to be getting caught up in the price of eggs, the chickens are laying, right? Because the eagle is able to rise above all of that and see things from a totally different perspective. And what it's able to see and the mindset that it's able to maintain is based on a higher perspective, a more elevated perspective. They're not seeing things from a simply rooted in a lower level. They can see what's going on in the lower level, but they're not subject to what's going on in that lower level because they can see from a much higher perspective. And from that higher perspective that they are able to see from, they're able to soar and be at peace and be free. And those two go hand in hand with one another. Okay. I want us to be able to soar and be free and get above all of this chicken squabble that's happening in this 3D matrix, right? The stuff that we're seeing in the news, being bombarded with in the news constantly. And to be able to download the kingdom of God on earth, into the earth realm. Are there any takers who want to help download the kingdom of God into the earth realm? No matter how many sociopathic people in positions of worldly power there might be, God is always sending souls into the earth to help liberate it, to help liberate the people on earth, to help free the people on earth. I endeavor to be one of those souls that helps us remember who it is that we are, where it is that we came from. We're divine beings. We're having experiences in this earth realm, but we're divine beings. And operating from the divinity within us, we can actually influence the things that are going on in the earth realm. Okay. Those people who are doing things that might not be benefiting the typical person, well, they're able to do that because they're manifesting well. They have a vision in their mind and they've learned to manifest it. And they've learned to craft things in their mind and attract things into their life experience that helps mold the world into the vision of it that they see. Okay. Can't actually fault them for that because they're actually utilizing principles. What I can do is I can charge us to master the principles for a higher purpose. You see, a knife can be used to kill somebody, or it can be used to cut some netting to set a turtle free, right? So the tool is the same. It's how one chooses to utilize it that makes such a huge difference, whether it's used to kill or whether it's used to set free. Okay, whether it's used to harm or whether it's used to help. All right, we can utilize the tools that other folks utilize, but just use our powers for good. I acknowledge I'm a person who's got a little juice. All right, there's some things I've been blessed with, and thankfully, I've been checked in the spirit a bunch of times. And tend to default towards using my powers for good, right? To some degree, I have a gift of gab. I used to use it to kind of try to dominate people in an argument. All that did was feed my ego, right? There's no value in that. All it did was feed the part of me that tries to edge God out. There's certainly no value in that. I endeavor to utilize those same gifts and abilities to help free people. Right. Anyway, enough talking. Let's get back into the healing. All right. So let's strengthen us in terms of deleting from our consciousness the victim mentality. I'm going to purify through the power of pure love every stronghold, every temptation that would have us inclining ourselves, to take hold of a victim mentality. If we're dwelling in a state of a victim mentality, we're giving our power away. We're designed to be victorious. We're designed to conquer those things that are standing between us and our highest and best good. All right. So let's look at deleting victim mindset. And I'm not saying this dispassionately, because I know that people who've been through some stuff. I've been through some stuff. And at times I have invited people to attend my pity parties. I've thrown some pity parties in my day and have invited plenty of people to attend the pity party with me. I don't desire to keep throwing pity parties though, because that isn't actually helping anybody. Not in the long run, it isn't. Okay. I'd rather throw victory parties. Right? All right, so let's delete the victim mentality. And part of the reason that we hold on to the victim mentality is because it sometimes is a pathway for compassion for us. So I want to strengthen us to be able to experience compassion without having to hold on to a victim story. On that note, let's delete the tendency to keep telling our victim story, whether it's to ourselves or to others. And as a Black man living in the United States of America, where my ancestors lived in the South, and a system that definitely was not geared towards their well-being, there are a lot of things that I could have mindset or attitude of victimhood or wanting to tell a story. And I know a lot of people who look like me can relate to that. There is stuff that's been passed down from one generation to another. Intergenerational stress, intergenerational post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic slavery disorder, right? And continue to be series, ongoing microaggressions, that end up being experienced every day. But even in the midst of that, to be able to stand boldly and victoriously above all of that, regardless of ethnic identity or gender, and purify that through the power of pure love. Or sexual orientation, want to purify that through the power of pure love. Or financial status, want to purify that through the power of pure love. All right. All of these things that other people want to say makes them better than us or makes us less than them. We want to strengthen all of us, empower all of us to be able to rise above that foolishness and see the truth as truth, and really align our consciousness to knowing that we are not our bodies, our ethnicity, our gender, our orientation, any of those different things. We are souls. We are souls who are wearing outfits, wearing costumes. And all of those other things are part of the costume, but they're not who we really are. They're not the essence of who we are. The essence of who we are is spirit beings that are incredibly powerful. All right. So let's attune ourselves to that, strengthen us in terms of being attuned to that, to be able to view ourselves in the, to be able to view ourselves through the spiritual mirror with spiritual lenses and be able to see ourselves as who we really are, not as our problems, not as our mistakes, not as the negative things that other people have said about us, but to see ourselves as beings made in the image and the likeness of pure love and divine light. And therefore, that who we really are, whether we sometimes act like it or not, is pure love and divine light. That's who we really are. That's what we really are. All right. Now let's address spiritual amnesia. I'm going to purify that through the power of pure love, where we've forgotten who it is that we really are. Because we've forgotten who it is that we really are, we've experienced an identity crisis, a crisis of identity. By forgetting who we really are, we have instead identified ourselves with these things that don't reflect the totality of who we are. They may reflect aspects of our beingness, but they don't reflect the totality of who we are. And we're not limited to that. And that's independent of whatever labels we might place on ourselves or whatever labels others might place upon us. And so we want to purify through the power of pure love and allow ourselves to be able to stand naked before the mirror of truth, unashamed, but with confidence and boldness and vitality, okay, to be able to move in the world as spiritual beings who know who we are. Now let's address this pain body. Okay. I want to address the aspects of us that hold on to all of this pain and shame and all of this negativity, and purify that through the power of pure love. And I want to encourage you to allow yourself to see yourself being rinsed off. Let God shower you in a shower of pure love and divine light. You might want to imagine it as liquid light. In my head, I'm hearing the song. It says, "Melodies from heaven rain down on me." You might want to imagine it as musical notes, as angelic musical notes raining upon you, rinsing away all of the dirt and all of the debris and all of the areas that you might see ugliness within yourself, in a way that you don't even necessarily allow yourself to know that you're seeing ugliness in yourself is by the ugliness you see in other people. Because we can only see in others what in some way is reflected within us. Okay. And so allowing that love, that pure love, allowing that divine light to just rinse and shower over us on the outside, even getting down on the inside of us, just pouring through us and rinsing away and washing away all of that negativity and replacing it with God's perfect peace. With God's perfect peace. And I'm not just saying this for us to be so otherworldly that we're no earthly good. I'm saying this so that we can actually be able to see clearly, and so that we can actually operate from a place of awareness, in order that from a place of genuine awareness, of sound mindedness, of a purified heart, to be able to then be able to move in the world in an empowered way, speaking the truth and doing so with love, being an inspiration in the world, being able to take steps that it takes courage to take in the midst of all of the things that are going on in the world, right? And so I want to also strengthen us to be able to to be able to have confidence in what it is that God can do through us. Okay. Now, reality of the world that we live in this 3D world, is that a lot of people will take whatever their own ego-based stuff is and try to spin it in such a way that God backs it up. That's not what I'm endeavoring to do here. What I'm endeavoring to do is empower us with peace and love and divine insight in a way that helps empower other people authentically, not in the sense of having control over other people, but empowers us authentically in a way that helps us to help other people tap into something greater than themselves. It helps other people to be able to experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. That helps other people to unlock their hearts and unlock their minds so that they're not subject to the things that would keep them enslaved, to fear and anxiety and worry and the need to control external circumstances. You see, when we're operating from a state of freedom and divine well-being, there's so much more good that we can do in the world. All right. We don't have to do so from a state of righteous indignation. We can do so from a state of spiritual enlightenment in a way that actually a soul that I really respect is that of Mr. Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers. One of the greatest compliments I've ever received is people comparing me to Mr. Rogers, even if they weren't necessarily even saying it as a compliment. Mr. Rogers, to me, though, was such a profound soul. I saw a time where he was speaking in front of Congress, and just from the words that he said and coming from the place of genuine peace and love that he was coming from, he was able to influence Congress, not by manipulating them, but by speaking the truth with love and doing so from a place of having a sound mind, right? So much of the things that we say and the things that we try to influence are coming from a place of fear, but we've not been given a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Okay. And so may we all be empowered. May we all be empowered to optimize our neurological activity. To optimize our neurological activity. To do that, let's actually tone down the overactive nature of our amygdala. I want to purify that through the power of pure love. I want to tone down the amygdala is part of the brain part of the reptilian brain, actually. I don't want to go too deep into the reptilian brain that we all have. It's just a part of the brain. It's the oldest part of our brain. And it's really largely rooted in survival, right? Okay. Not that survival is a bad thing. Survival is a good thing. We just want that. We don't want that to be our master, so to speak. Okay. Because we can get into, if we're operating from a fear-based space, there are things that we do to try to survive that actually are not actually beneficial to us in the long run. Okay. All right. So let's actually tone down that overactive amygdala. Send it pure love and divine light. Welcome in the light of God's love and to the places within our neurological structure and functioning that have us in fear-based state, and actually increase our neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity really deals with the brain's ability to learn, to learn new things, to tap into things differently than where we've been. We all operate according to how we've been programmed, and we've all been programmed mentally. And based on how we've been programmed mentally determines how it is that we think, feel, and move and operate in the world. It impacts our behavior. It impacts our decisions. It profoundly impacts our decisions, right? And so let's open up new neurological pathways. Let's open up new neural pathways to be able to see a better way. If you're not familiar with A Course in Miracles, I'd encourage you to check it out. There's some really profound things in there that can actually, it's actually a self-study guide that can actually really be profoundly impactful in terms of helping you to be able to see things, to see a better way. A lot of times we get to a point in our lives where we may even hit rock bottom and feel like there's got to be a better way. There has got to be a better way. And A Course in Miracles actually offers some things that will help us to retrain how our mind works, to be able to see things differently and operate from a space of love, right? And thus flow in, enter a flow state where miracles are naturally occurring. So let's actually strengthen our self-love. Let's definitely strengthen our self-love. Because we've been taught and we've been programmed to believe that we're something less than who it is and what it is that we are, we sometimes have varying degrees of self-disdain. So we want to purify that self-disdain through the power of God, pure love, and transmute it into and replace it with self-love and self-compassion and self-respect. All right. And based on that self-love, self-compassion, and self-respect, but strengthen us all to be able to make decisions that actually support our divine well-being. Not just decisions that support our comfort, because sometimes we avoid discomfort. We chase comfort. We avoid discomfort. And sometimes we do so, thus leaving ourselves locked into a state of complacency or stuckness. All right. So let's kind of deal with the element of water. The nature of water is to flow, to help us to be able to flow like water. For us to be able to flow like water in terms of our mentality, in terms of our receptivity to divine ideas. I want to purify that through the power of pure love and strengthen us all where that's concerned. All right. We want to actually boost up our sense of security, to be able to find and experience security in the flow. That our security isn't actually rooted, to actually paradigm shift to our security not being rooted in things staying the same or sameness or what it is that we know, but our true security being rooted in staying in the flow, staying in divine flow. All right. So let's strengthen our trust and faith in God to be able to move in the flow, however things flow, right? No matter who might make what decision or how whack we might perceive that decision to be, but to be able to dwell in a state of divine flow so that we have, no matter what the problem is, we're tapped into the solution to that problem and aligned with the solution for that problem, and can therefore respond appropriately rather than react out of fear. We can respond appropriately. So let's strengthen us all for that. Strengthen us all for that. Welcoming the presence of the light of God's love into the places and spaces within our beingness and within our mental faculties that empower us to be able to move and flow. in divine alignment. All right. Gosh, it's 2 o'clock. It's about time to close out. I'll do one or two more corrections, and then we'll go ahead and close out for today. All right. So let's look at tapping into those who went before us, who reached a level of spiritual mastery. Okay. A lot of times we study and we pay attention to those who are locked into fear, but to be able to study the ways, the life and times and the ways of those who actually learn to rise above and to really be able to make some positive changes in their time. All right. And also to strengthen us all. Strengthen us all to receive our divine birthright. To receive our divine birthright. Not based on our birthright as who we are as human beings and all of the things that come with it, the hue of our skin, the amount of money we have in the bank, our family lineage in terms of in the earthly realm, not any of those things, but our birthright in terms of as children of God. The God is the source of all that we want, of all that are we really, really, really at our core, what we really, really want. Okay. And to be able to tap into, open up, and be willing to receive that, receptive to, not just intellectually wanting it, but being spiritually aligned to where we're actually receptive to it and create space for the new good to flow to us. And not just flow to us, but flow to us and flow through us, so that a drop of heaven is being left behind wherever we go, so that we're blessed in order to be a blessing. All right. God, thank you so much for this time that we've shared together with those who are tapped into this Sunday Hope and Healing session. And thank you for your presence having been here with us today and for the healing that we've experienced. And yes, there's still room for more healing. But we thank you for what we've experienced thus far. And we thank you in advance for the healing that is yet to come. Thank you for reminding us that we're never alone, that you're always with us. Thank you for reminding us that although there are men in positions of worldly power who don't necessarily have our best interest at heart, that you are always sending souls into the earth realm that always have our best interest at heart and are always endeavoring to help us remember who it is that we really are at our core, and that are endeavoring to share with us divine insights, encouragement, hope, inspiration, to help us be the greatest versions of ourselves and to be able to experience life in that more abundantly. Thank you, God, for these and all blessings that you continually and bountifully shower upon us. In Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach Ashe. And amen. God bless you, family. It's been wonderful being with you here today, as always. I'm thankful for every one of you who is committed enough to your own spiritual growth, development, unfoldment to come and participate in these Sunday Hope and Healing sessions, to give yourself an opportunity to receive that which can be beneficial to you in the long run, in your journey as a soul living on planet Earth, right? And some of the things you might not even necessarily completely understand on an intellectual level what's happening, and that's completely fine. Some of this healing work that's being done is on the subtlest levels of our existence. And um, I remember doing a healing with somebody. This was in a public situation. I was actually doing a presentation and demonstration, and in their particular case, they had pain, and I was working with them on their pain. And as I had been working for a little while, I asked them how it felt then. It was their neck in that particular case. I asked them how their neck felt then, and they looked and kind of moved their head a little bit. They said, I didn't even realize it was gone. It happened so subtly, I didn't even realize that it was taking place. The person who had a significant level of pain in their body, and it very subtly disappeared. It just kind of evaporated. And that's the kind of work that happens during these Sunday Hope and Healing sessions. And so you may not even be consciously aware of what it is that took place, but there are some profound things that are happening. And I want to acknowledge you for showing up in this space, showing up for your own life, showing up for the good of the planet. I really do believe the more of us are healed more and more, the more of us are operating from a state of wholeness rather than brokenness, the better it is for all of us, because we're all reaching everyone with love and compassion and peace and authentic empowerment, and spreading that in the world in a way that it ripples out. And we're eventually all being free. I can hear Donny Hathaway singing, "Take it from me, someday we'll all be free." Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. God bless you all. I love you. And as we continue to endeavor to enter into the sustainable state of supreme satisfaction, until we meet again, I bid you adieu with peace and love. Catch you next time.